making headlines this Monday night. Six-party diplomacy following North Korea's nuclear test last week. Chief nuclear negotiators of Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo are set to meet on Wednesday, and Seoul, Beijing the next day. North Korea may carry out further sudden provocations, warns the chairman of South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the commander of U.S. Forces Korea urges vigilance to the troops. And China shockwaves. Global shares tumble as a fresh pounding for Chinese markets leaves Asia at a 4-year trough and sends oil and commodity markets sprawling again. News Center begins right now. Good evening to those of you in Korea, and hello to our viewers around the world. This is News Center. Let's get started. Chief nuclear negotiators of Sixparty talks, with the exception of North Korea, of course, are back to work. Seoul's top nuclear envoy Hwang Jung-guk is set to hold a string of meetings with his U.S., Chinese, Japanese, and Russian counterparts this week. This in response to North Korea's 4th nuclear test last week, which the North claims to have been a hydrogen bomb. The flurry of six-party diplomacy is placing extra attention on just how much China, Pyongyang's only ally, will cooperate with the international community in imposing sanctions on the recluse state. Our foreign affairs correspondent Kwon So-ah has this report.
Seoul's Foreign Affairs Ministry announced Monday that representatives of the stalled six-party nuclear talks are set to meet this week for a series of discussions. The ministry said it's the result of emergency phone calls between South Korea's Special Representative for Korean Peninsula Peace and Security Affairs Hwang Jung-guk and his counterparts in the wake of North Korea's 4th nuclear test. Hwang is first scheduled to meet his U.S. and Japanese counterparts Sung Kim and Kimihiro Ishikane Wednesday in Seoul to discuss possible responses to Pyongyang's latest act. Hwang will then take the results of the three-way meeting to Beijing, where he will sit down with his Chinese counterpart, Woo Da-wei. The schedule for a bilateral meeting with Russia is also being mediated.
Through the series of negotiations with the US, Japan, China, and Russia, the government will put its effort in deriving a united response from the international community.
Launched in 2003, the six-party talks, which involve the 5 countries plus North Korea, are aimed at finding a way to denuclearize the North, but have been stalled since late 2008. With the 5 nations and the international community looking to push forward with sanctions on the North, all eyes will be on China, the North's closest ally. According to sources on Monday, China has said it will actively cooperate in adopting a new UN Security Council resolution against Pyongyang, but only in a manner that helps in securing peace on the Korean peninsula, showing a more lax stance compared to its immediate response to Pyongyang's test last Wednesday. Kwon So-ah, Arirang News.
President Park Geun-hye will address the nation this Wednesday, during which she'll outline her policy direction for 2016 and deliver a statement regarding South Korea's response to North Korea's latest nuclear test. Of course, what the North has claimed to be a hydrogen bomb test. We go live to our presidential office correspondent Song Ji-sun. Ji-sun, the announcement was made today by the top office. It came as a bit of a surprise, didn't it?
Good evening, Ganyang. The presidential spokesperson told reporters this morning that President Park will issue a statement and hold a press conference on Wednesday morning. This will be her 3rd press conference and the 5th statement to the nation since taking the office, but this is the first time she's holding the 2 events at the same time, indicating the importance of the message and the current situation. Her statement will likely include the administration's response to Pyongyang's claim of a successful hydrogen bomb test last week, possibly shifting the approach to Pyongyang. 2 days after Pyongyang's alleged H-bomb test, South Korea resumed loudspeaker broadcasts on Friday along the heavily fortified border. This decision made at the National Security Council meeting is considered one of the most powerful and strongest actions against Pyongyang for its influence on the listeners and criticism on the regime. President Park has been highlighting her vision for unification through a trust-building process, but she will now make the message clear that money and nukes don't mix, pressing Pyongyang with stronger economic sanctions unless it permanently abandons its nuke programs with verifiable ways. Kaesong?
Right, message to the north, of course, but also to the Korean people. Jason, the president issued a statement when it's necessary for the people to know how prompt the government is in responding, like the Seoul ferry disaster back in 2014. What would she assure the people in Wednesday's message?
Well, President Park has been calling on the people to carry on business as usual and also pledged to closely coordinate with the international community to sternly respond to Pyongyang's nuclear threats.
현재 정부는 국제사회와 긴밀히 공조하면서 강력하고도 필요한 대응 조치를 취해 나가고 있습니다. 이런 상황에서 정말 중요한 것이 국민의 단합입니다.
She will also call for swift approval of economy-related bills at the National Assembly to revitalize the economy through reforms and restructuring.
앞으로 어떤 대치 상황이 올지 모르므로 정치권에서는 모든 정쟁을 멈추고 국민의 안위를 위해 다 같이 힘을 모아주시기 바랍니다.
President Park's statement and the New Year's conference come just a day before the annual policy briefings that begin on Thursday. President Park will likely seek to ease the nation's concerns regarding the latest North threats and also win support for her policy drives entering her fourth year in office. Kaesong?
Right, and we look forward to hearing from her. Thank you, Ji-sun, for that. Now, Seoul is imposing stronger entry restrictions at the Kaesong Industrial Complex in response to the North nuclear test. But there is also concerns that the measure will only exacerbate the pending issues at the joint factory zone. Our Connie Kim reports.
More South Korean citizens will be limited from entering the inter-Korean Kaesong Industrial Complex as part of Seoul's additional measures against Pyongyang following a fourth nuclear test last week.
South Korea plans to allow the minimum number of South Koreans into Kaesong Industrial Complex starting from Tuesday, January 12th, after considering the safety of our citizens.
This means South Koreans working at the complex will be reduced to the minimum level, and subcontractor employees will not be able to spend the night inside the joint park. The ministry expects the number of people coming in and out of the Kaesong Industrial Zone to decrease to some 650 people from about 800. Seoul's stronger measures follow an announcement on Thursday. A day after North Korea claimed a successful hydrogen bomb test, entry at the joint industrial park was limited to South Korean businessmen and those directly involved in operations. But some North Korea observers worry such measures may be too extreme considering Pyongyang did not create additional tensions on the Korean peninsula following its nuclear test.
It's better for the government to maintain normal operations at the park unless North Korea poses a threat to people who come in and out of the complex. The government must be prudent in pressuring Pyongyang with the Kaesong Industrial Complex.
The Kaesong Industrial Complex is the last remaining symbol of inter-Korean economic cooperation. The two Koreas logged a trade volume of $2.4 billion in 2014. Pyongyang reportedly earns about $100 million annually operating the complex. It remains to be seen whether additional limitations will be put on the Kaesong Industrial Complex. But many North Korea watchers in Seoul say any decisions regarding operations at the park will have to be made cautiously as it will be detrimental to both Koreas. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
Now, North Korea's further sudden provocations is a possibility. That's according to South Korea's chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff today. General Lee Sun-jin checked upon joint South Korea-U.S. readiness for air defense with the U.S. Forces Korea Commander General Curtis Scaparrotti in a show of determination to deter further provocations by North Korea. Of course, all of this comes a day after the U.S. sent a B-52 bomber on a low flyover across South Korea, flanked by other U.S. and South Korean fighter jets. It was another strong show of force against Pyongyang and was also a very clear indication of Washington's commitment to the defense of its allies. Our national defense correspondent Kim Hyun-bin is in the studio with me. Now, Hyun-bin, fill us in on the latest joint inspection by the two commanders.
Well, good evening, Kanyang. South Korea's chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Lee Sun-jin, and the U.S. Forces Korea Commander, General Curtis Scarpati, visited the Korea and U.S. Air Force Base in Ulsan earlier today to inspect this military's preparedness and to deal with any provocations from the north. Now, the two commanders were briefed on the current situation, and they urged that both militaries need to maintain their highest level of readiness, keeping in mind that there could be additional provocations by the north at any time. The two generals also inspected the Korea Air and Space Operations Center, which is in charge of detecting and countering enemy aircraft and ballistic missiles. It also acts as the Korea-U.S. Joint Air Force Command cell during wartime.
Now, Hyun-bin, Washington flew over a B-52 bomber very close to North Korea over the weekend. Quite a symbolic move, I would say.
Sure is. The flight made a very strong statement. It showed the United stance against Pyongyang's act that essentially Seoul and Washington mean business, and they will not tolerate any more of these provocations from the north. It also highlighted Washington's commitment to defending its allies.
The deployment of the B-52 strategic bomber shows off the ironclad alliance between the two countries to North Korea and the world, and could also have the side effect of curbing future provocations by Pyongyang.
The powerful B-52, which is equipped with nuclear missiles and bunker-busting bombs that are capable of targeting underground facilities, is also capable of hitting targets that are up to 3,000 kilometers away. Now, the two allies are also planning further military counteractions down the road. Now, experts say additional deployments could include the nuclear-powered USS Ronald Reagan aircraft carrier, a nuclear submarine, B-2 stealth bombers, and F-22 Raptor stealth fighter jets.
Right, Hyun-bin, it was a busy week in the defense arena, especially after North Korea's nuclear test, fourth nuclear test that is, which it claimed that it was a hydrogen bomb testing. And the new year kicked off on a very military tensions with a very high point.
That's right, but I do have an interesting fact here. North Korea is the first country in the world to have tested a nuclear bomb in this century. Not once, but 4 times in the last decade. Now, the communist regime says that it first successfully tested a hydrogen bomb for the first time, but experts here say it's hard to believe North Korea has the technology to develop a full-scale H-bomb at this point in time. Now, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un on Monday highlighted that his country needs to enhance its nuclear deterrence as self-defense to counter nuclear threats from the U.S.
North Korea needs to emphasize its nuclear and weapons of mass destruction power to the world to maintain its power structure and believes that is the only way Pyongyang can survive.
South Korea has condemned this latest test and vowed that Pyongyang will pay a price for its nuclear provocations. The defense chiefs of South Korea, the U.S., and Japan are calling the event a direct violation of international law, as well as a threat to peace and stability, not only in the Korean peninsula, but the entire Asia-Pacific region. The 3 countries have also pledged to enhance cooperations to better counter North Korea's nuclear and missile threats.
Right, alliance in full gear, I would say.
That's right.
All right, thank you, Hyun-bin, for that thorough coverage and for coming into the studio tonight.
No problem.
Now, as for Seoul's resumption of anti-Pyongyang broadcasts at the inter-Korean border, there are no signs of immediate threat of retaliation. But the North did put up their own speakers to drown out South Korea's broadcasts. Oh Soo-young gives us the latest.
It has been 4 days since South Korea resumed its anti-Pyongyang broadcast campaign through 11 loudspeakers along the inter-Korean border. Blasting contents ranging from developments in South Korea, news from around the world, and even K-pop. The measure was taken after the North conducted its 4th nuclear test last Wednesday, as a form of psychological warfare against the communist state.
Well, there might not be immediate psychological impact. If the broadcasts play continuously, North Korean soldiers or residents may start questioning the regime. That's why the South's loudspeaker campaign is what the North's regime fears the most.
Seoul's military officials say Pyongyang initially countered with its own propaganda broadcasts using 2 loudspeakers, but has now expanded the number to match the South in each location. Officials added that North Korea's speakers have low output, which leads them to believe that the purpose is to merely prevent the South's broadcast from being heard.
With the North's power shortage and outdated broadcast technology, it may not be as effective.
Seoul's defense ministry says there are no signs of immediate threat from the north, but South Korean troops along the border are on the highest state of alert. The ministry added that if North Korea decides to attack the speakers, it will retaliate with more than triple the force. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
Korea's National Assembly kicked off its January extraordinary session on Monday, but rival parties continue to wrangle over the passage of contentious bills and a new electoral map for Korea. Our political correspondent Ji Myung-gil is live at Seoul's National Assembly. Myung-gil, it seems the ruling Saenuri party's patience is running out as contentious bills have been stuck in parliament for months now.
That's right, Kaesong. The ruling Saenuri party has become increasingly intent on passing government-led economic bills in January, as December's extra session yielded little progress. Let's listen to what the ruling party chairman had to say.
In January's extra session, economic bills to help revitalize our economy along with labor reform bills must be passed. The economic bills will help Korean companies do business and help create more jobs. There's no reason to oppose.
Lawmakers have been unable to tackle economic bills aimed at promoting growth in the service sector, easing regulations to allow industry-wide restructuring and anti-terrorism legislation. They also delayed passage of a bill calling for the improvement of human rights in North Korea. However, the opposition Minju Party of Korea is more focused on the current absence of local constituencies, as the electoral map for the April 13th general election has yet to be drawn.
We must settle the electoral district matter first, as the current electoral map became invalid at the end of last year. We will be flexible in our approach and continue discussions with the ruling bloc.
The main sticking point is how proportional representatives will be elected, with the ruling party pushing for reduction in the number of proportional representative seats. For the first time in history, candidates seeking a parliamentary seat in the 20th National Assembly are jockeying for position ahead of elections without knowing their constituencies. Kaesong?
And the general elections just 3 months away. Thank you, Myung-gil, for that. Slightly more than 90 days before April 13th, a general election takes place, with a new party taking shape and its position and presence. Our Shin Se-min outlines what to expect in the months ahead in the ever-changing Korean political landscape.
The main opposition Minju Party of Korea is shrinking, with Kim Kwan-yong announcing his defection on Monday. A total of 11 lawmakers, including political maverick An Chol-soo, have left the party. The list continues to grow. Kwon No-gap, the Minju Party's advisor, and a dozen more lawmakers are planning to leave the opposition bloc, most of them disappointed by Moon Jae-in's leadership. Just yesterday, An Chol-soo formed his own liberal bloc, the People's Party, promising to create new politics by the people and for the people. Chun Jung-bae, a former Minju Party lawmaker, is also gathering support with his coalition called the National Congress, and Park Ju-san unveiled a tentatively named party called the United New Party. The majority of the lawmakers defected represent the Honam region, considered the heart of the Minju Party. Most of them are shifting towards An's new party, further weakening the Minju Party and empowering the People's Party. Support from Honam region is crucial as it holds a key to the outcome of the general elections. An's new party, the People's Party, is quickly establishing itself and amassing strength, with some even speculating it could potentially replace the main opposition party.
If the People's Party continues to gain support, it's likely that the balance of power will shift to An's new Liberal bloc.
With just 93 days left until the April's parliamentary election, experts say the shift in the political landscape is expected to continue, but it remains uncertain how things will pan out. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
A confirmation hearing of Korea's finance minister nominee Yoo Il-ho took place on this Monday, and he did receive confirmation. Now, the incoming finance minister said Korea will see growth in the 3% range this year, even without the help of a government stimulus package. For details, let's turn to Hwang Ji-hye.
Korea will be able to reach its 3.1% growth target this year without drawing up a supplementary budget. That's what Finance Minister nominee Yoo Il-ho said during his confirmation hearing on Monday. But as the economy continues to face lingering uncertainties at home and abroad, like the slowing Chinese economy and the U.S. Federal Reserve's rate hike, Yoo said he will take all possible measures to prop up the recovery momentum seen in the second half of last year.
I will do my best to further boost the economy and fight against risks through measures like front-loading the state budget in the first quarter this year.
You added that structural reforms in 4 sectors, labor, education, finance, and the public, are critical to the government's ability to reach its growth target, and he pledged to pour his efforts into persuading the main opposition party to pass a series of pending economy-related bills. Despite Yoo's rosy growth projections, skepticism remains over Korea's ability to hit the 3% target, with major foreign investment banks predicting an expansion of 2.6% on average. With that, experts say Korea is at a crossroads between falling into a cycle of Japan-style deflation and moving closer to adding itself to the list of advanced economies. And in such crucial times, pundits question whether Yoo will be able to show the same sort of leadership the current finance minister Choi Kyung-won has exhibited during his term, as Yoo's policies are built around those of Choi. Hwang Ji-hye, Arirang News.
Global markets tumble in China again. Chinese shares closed sharply lower this Monday on the back of weak economic data. Well, it's also taking a toll on the Korean market, which analysts say will likely continue for some time. Our Kim Min-ji reports.
Fears about slowing growth in the world's second-largest economy are becoming more pronounced. After shedding almost 14% in the first week of trading, Chinese shares took another dive on Monday. The benchmark Shanghai Composite Index lost more than 5%, while the Shenzhen Index also plunged more than 6%. This comes after data showed that Beijing's consumer price growth posted its lowest level in 6 years last year, as well as growing worries about the weakness in the Chinese currency. And it's also being reflected in the Korean market. Korea's benchmark Kospi shed nearly 1.2% on Monday, falling below the psychologically significant 1900 mark. The local currency closed at about 1,210 won against the US dollar, the lowest in 5.5 years. Given such uncertainties from Beijing, coupled with growing geopolitical tensions in the form of North Korea's latest provocation and unrest in the Middle East, analysts say the situation won't be better anytime soon.
Although we may not see massive plunges as seen at the start of the year, until news regarding the Chinese economy as well as the global economy wane, the downward trend will remain as a nerve factor for investors.
It wasn't a good start to the year for the global stock market, with China's system-wide circuit breaker pulling the plug on trading twice last week. More than $4 trillion, or nearly 7%, was wiped off the global market cap in just 5 days. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Now, there was once a time when smartphones were considered a luxury item. Not anymore, rather an absolute necessity in carrying out daily lives. And new data shows it's believed to be the most important medium across generations, overtaking the television. Our Lee Ji-won reports.
The importance of the smartphone in everyday life has been solidified once again. A new survey by the Korea Communications Commission on some 7,500 people 13 and above showed that the necessity for smartphones increased from 43.9% in 2014 to 46.4% in 2015. The device was voted the most important medium by teens through those in their 40s. For those aged 50 and older, the good old television still reigned as king. But overall, the television decreased in popularity from 44.3% in 2014 to 44.1% last year, losing its lead to smartphones for the first time. The KCC said the shift comes as more older people are choosing smartphones as their go-to media device, catching up to their younger counterparts. The general expectation is that the preference for smartphones will continue to grow for the foreseeable future due to its portability and ability to customize to users' taste. 이지원, Arirang News.
Well, Koreans love their coffee, a good night's sleep, but many don't have dinner with family. A new survey has been released that shows how much Koreans eat, drink, and sleep. Quite some interesting factors to note. Son Jung-in has the details.
Newly released statistics from the Health Ministry and the Korea Centers for Disease Control and Prevention show Korean adults drink nearly 2 cups of coffee a day. According to a survey on 3,400 Koreans aged between 19 and 64, an adult drinks 12 cups of coffee a week on average, or 1.7 cups every single day. The rate is similar to how often Koreans eat rice. That figure comes to 2.4 times a day. The survey also showed that around a third of adults were overweight, but 2/3 of them were attempting to lose a few kilos. The poll found that 32% of adult Koreans were above the optimal weight, meaning their BMI measured by dividing a person's weight by the square of his or her height in meters was 25 or higher. 64% of them have tried to lose weight. The data also found that obesity was more prevalent among old and low-income Koreans. The survey also found that 1 in 3 Koreans did not eat dinner with their family. Only 65% of respondents said they had dinner with their loved ones. This figure has been on a downward trend since 2005, when it stood at 76%. The latest statistics also found Koreans spend around 7.5 hours a day sat down and get nearly 7 hours sleep a night. On a worrying note, 1 in 7 drivers confessed to driving under the influence more than once in a year. Son Jung-in, Arirang News.
The head of Volkswagen has apologized for the company's emissions scandal and plans to announce a fix this week for Volkswagen drivers in the U.S. Bruce Harrison is live in the studio with me. Now, Bruce, this new CEO, Matthias Müller, it's his first visit to the U.S. since the scandal broke last fall. What did he tell his American consumers?
Oh, look, I'm sure he's in Detroit right now. It's the eve of the famous Detroit Auto Show. And he said Volkswagen's most important task this year is to win back trust. He said the German car maker is truly sorry for what happened, and they know they let their customers down across the world.
Now, Mueller is set to meet with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency this week to propose a fix for cars that were affected by the emissions rigging. Now, what's his plan to bring hundreds of thousands of cars up to code?
Well, Mueller is expected to propose a new catalytic converter system. It would be fitted on about 430,000 cars capable of cheating diesel emissions tests. He said part of the plan will be an offer by VW to buy back some of the affected U.S. cars. A German daily reported that last week that the automaker may need to buy back around 115,000 U.S. vehicles. The plan may be a tough sell, though, for EPA head Gina McCarthy. She's previously complained that both sides have failed to develop, in her own words, a satisfactory way forward, despite months of talks. But Mueller said he believes VW and the EPA would be able to bridge their differences. An estimated 11 million cars worldwide were fitted with devices that deliberately manipulated diesel emissions. Just last week, the U.S. Justice Department filed a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit against VW and 5 of its subsidiaries. Legendary singer and performer David Bowie has died. The fearless innovator shared his talent right up until his death, releasing his 25th album, Black Star, on Friday. Bowie's social media websites announced he died peacefully on Sunday, surrounded by his family after an 18-month battle with cancer. His impact was much larger than just his art.
The influence he had on people to be themselves, to be their true selves, and to express themselves creatively. I mean, you don't often actually get an artist that really engenders that with so many people across so many generations.
Bowie soared to stardom in the early 1970s as he portrayed Ziggy Stardust, his alter ego, an androgynous alien rock star with bright orange hair and flamboyant clothing. Bowie was also known for his work as an actor, including a stint on Broadway as the lead role in The Elephant Man.
Well, Bruce, sticking with the entertainment industry, but on a different note, revenge drama The Revenant and space adventure The Martian took top honors at this year's Golden Globes, and some very familiar and, I must say, good-looking leading men there.
Very familiar, that's right. Matt Damon won Best Actor in a Comedy for The Martian, and Leonardo DiCaprio won Best Drama Actor for The Revenant. In the pioneer-era film, DiCaprio plays a revenge-hungry father of a murdered son.
It's very rewarding. You know, we had a very solid opening weekend because I think people appreciate seeing a different type of cinema out there, a more visceral type of movie.
British comedian Ricky Gervais repeated as the event's host. He's known for skewering Hollywood and many of the event's attendees.
Well, Bruce, Leonardo DiCaprio, okay, fair enough, but Matt Damon in The Martian, really best comedy actor?
Best comedy. I mean, he had plenty of humorous lines throughout the film, but there's been some talk in the press about really a comedy award for that film.
Right. I didn't find that comedic at all. So I guess it remains to be seen whether he'll grab the best comedy actor once again at the Oscars next month.
Sure, next month, the bigger brother of the awards ceremony's out there for films, and we'll just have to wait and see. Often top awards do go on to perform well there, so you never know.
I wonder how Matt Damon feels about this.
I'm sure it's great. Another, trophy on the shelf.
Right. Bruce, thank you so much for today.
My pleasure.
Well, the new week got off to a freezing start here in the Korean capital. For more on the latest weather update, let's check in with Lee Ji-hyun at the Weather Center. Ji-hyun, the cold conditions are surely making it easy for people to get sick. But these days, it seems like it's not only our physical, but also emotional health that's at stake, with apparently more people being affected by what's called a seasonal affective disorder, acronym SAD, or simply known as winter blues.
You're right, Kon-young. When the thermometer drops, your mood can easily be affected by the changes, to which health experts recommend to get as much as sunshine as possible in the winter to tackle conditions such as depression.
Right, and the good thing is we did have a sunny day in Seoul, but going out to get some sun, that's easier said than done.
Right.
Can we perhaps look forward to warmer temperatures this week?
Well, this week is shaping up to be even colder than last week. Daily lows will plunge to near -10 degrees Celsius, and daily highs will hardly make it to freezing mark here in the capital. So let's go right into tomorrow's readings. Here in Seoul, we'll start out with the coldest temperature of the season, kicking off at -8 degrees Celsius, -3 for Daegu, and -1 for Busan tomorrow morning. And afternoon highs will be also colder than today, with a high only peaking to 0 tomorrow, 2 for Daejeon, 4 for Daegu, and Busan and Jeju Island will see a high of 7 and 5 tomorrow afternoon. And as for the weather alerts, a cold wave advisory has been expanded in Gangwon-do and Gyeonggi-do provinces, and dry weather advisory has been issued here in the capital today, and heavy snow advisory has been issued in Ullungdo and Dokdo Island. So as we can see, winter surely is in full swing, so be sure to take good care of your health. Now that's Korea for you, and here's international weather for viewers around the world.
merely as an instrument of communication. The first contribution is by an engine pike.
Or the colder temperatures might be a great excuse to enjoy some indoor exhibitions like that. Well, that is our broadcast on this Monday night. I'm Moon Gan-young. Thanks everyone for watching, and we hope to see you right back here same time tomorrow on NewsCenter.